Tokusatsu is a word you've probably never heard, but more likely than not, you've already seen it. If you've ever seen Power Rangers, any of the Saban shows from the 90s like VR Troopers, or any of the old Godzilla films, you'll have seen Tokusatsu. My first exposure to Tokusatsu was watching Power Rangers as a kid, and that's how many people here in the West first got into it. The nostalgia of Power Rangers eventually led me to discovering Sentai, and then Rider later on. Today I'll discuss what exactly is Tokusatsu and some recommendations on where to start if you're interested. Tokusatsu is a Japanese word that means special effects and refers to a genre of film or television that relies heavily on practical special effects. Under that definition, anything that heavily utilizes special effects like Marvel or DC films or TV shows like Doctor Who could technically be considered Tokusatsu, but in the West it refers to a specific style. It obviously relies heavily on practical special effects and some CGI. It is usually a Japanese production, but it doesn't have to be. It is made on a cheap budget and are mostly very toyetic, meaning they are designed to sell toys. It's honestly really hard to articulate what exactly the style is, but it's something like, you know it when you see it. If you've seen an episode of Power Rangers, you know what I'm talking about. To a lot of people, that word might just be cheesy, and that's probably the best way to put it. Tokusatsu can be in basically any genre, but the two most popular are the kaiju and the superhero genre. To me, the kaiju genre, movies like Godzilla with giant monsters, have become so big and mainstream that it has basically become its own thing, and for the most part, it's moved past Tokusatsu techniques. So when people say Tokusatsu to me, I assume they're talking about the superheroes. Of this genre, there are the three most popular series, the big three: Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and Ultraman. Kamen Rider traditionally follows a solo hero who fights against an evil organization using the same power as the villains, and usually has an insect motif. Kamen Rider has changed the most since its creation in 1971, with more than one rider and sometimes too many appearing in a season, as well as moving away from the insect motif on many occasions recently. It overall has a darker tone than its sister show, Super Sentai, but in recent years the tone has gotten closer to that of Sentai. Ultraman follows an alien who merges with a host to fight giant monsters. Ultraman is the only one of the big three which I am not really a fan of, so I don't know much about it besides the basic premise. Super Sentai is the most familiar to Western viewers, as it is a show that Power Rangers borrowed footage from. It is essentially a combination of Kamen Rider and Ultraman, a team of 3 to 5 heroes that fight evil and in the end have to use their mecha to fight the monster who grows large. These three shows are marketed towards kids and are driven by merchandise sales, which is why toy collecting is popular among the Tokusatsu community. The biggest problem with Tokusatsu in the West is the shows actually being released here. Ultraman is the best at this. The most recent seasons are right on Super Aya's YouTube channel, and that is where they are aired. As of now, this is the only series of the big three that you can watch legally live in the West. Super Sentai has the next most. 13 seasons that were adapted into Power Rangers, Zyuranger to Deca Ranger, have a physical release, while Zyuranger to Hurricaneger are available to stream. There are also 2 seasons before Zyuranger that were released, Jetman and Fiveman, and Jetman can be streamed. Kamen Rider has by far the least amount officially released, only 6, the original Kamen Rider from 1971, Kamen Rider Black and its sequel Black RX, Kamen Rider Kuga, Kamen Rider Ryuki, and Kamen Rider 01. Of these, 4 can be streamed, Kamen Rider 1971, Kuga, Ryuki, 01, while Black and Black RX are only available through physical release. So where should you start? I would say start with the seasons that have already been officially released, and then go from there. If you are completely new to Tokusatsu, I would recommend Kamen Rider Kuga from 2000. It feels a lot more like a traditional drama. It takes itself very seriously. It's not overly toyetic, the comic relief isn't in your face, and it has awesome action. For Sentai, you can choose a season of Power Rangers that you liked and then watch its counterpart, but the only seasons that are released officially are from 1991 to 2004, which is, even 2004 is considered old by today's standards, but there's still some good seasons. I would say probably stay away from Mirai Sentai Time Ranger or Hyakuju Sentai Gao Ranger, which were adapted into Time Force and Wild Force respectively. Not for their quality, just because they're almost identical to their Power Rangers counterpart. My recommendation would be Gosei Sentai Dai Ranger from 1993. It is familiar enough because the mecha were used in Season 2 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but the suits were never used, so it feels like something new. I really can't give a recommendation for Ultraman because I haven't really seen any of it, but I've heard good things about the most recent season, Ultraman Blazar. But just because some seasons aren't officially available doesn't mean they aren't available. Basically every season of Tokusatsu imaginable has been released on the internet with English subtitles unofficially, and they aren't that hard to find. With this, Google is your friend. Literally just search the season you want and you'll find it. I would say look through the seasons, see which suits you like, read a plot synopsis, and then choose which one you like, but I'll give some examples. For those who are new to Kamen Rider, I would recommend 2 seasons, Kamen Rider Agito from 2001 and Kamen Rider Double from 2009. Agito represents the older style of Kamen Rider. It's darker and moodier, but it has a lot more comic relief than Kuga, and it introduces the concept of multiple riders. Double represents the modern style. The tone is a lot more in line with Super Sentai, although still a little bit darker, and it introduces gimmick items, which is still the model to this day. I would say stay away from Kamen Rider Ryuki, Kamen Rider Hibiki, Kamen Rider Gaim, and Kamen Rider Geats. Now for their quality, these are some of my favorite seasons, but they're just structurally very different from basically any other season. But if you want something different, then these are the shows you should watch. Kamen Rider Decade and Kamen Rider Geo are also anniversary seasons, and while it isn't necessary to watch the seasons before them, it feels better if you've at least watched a couple. As for Sentai, it's hard to give a definitive answer because of how formulaic it is, and a lot of the seasons have a familiar feel, so all of them are fair game. But you can do the same thing I said before. You can choose a season of Power Rangers that you like and watch its counterpart. And for the most part, they're very different, so it's worth trying. I am unfamiliar with any season before Jetman, which came out in 1991, but I know Live Man from 1988 is well liked, and I've seen a little bit of Denji Man from 1980. I would say stay away from the 2 most recent seasons, Avataro Sentai Dawn Brothers and Osama Sentai King Oger, if you are new to Sentai, as they are completely different structurally than the other seasons. But if you're already familiar with Power Rangers or Sentai in general, then you should try these ones out. People also like to watch Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger from 2011 first, and while I think it is the best season of Sentai overall, it is an anniversary season and it definitely helps to have some context before, although it isn't necessary. Thank you for listening, and I hope you check out some seasons of Tokusatsu. I intend to make some more content on Tokusatsu in the future, but I'll wait a bit to see how this one does. Feedback is always appreciated. Thank you, and have a good day.